everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my top 5 moments from the Nintendo Directive at E3 2017. Because this event was so small and they actually did I'm pretty sure after the Directive officially ended is when they did the full-on announcement for the Samus game. I decided to kind of incorporate a little bit of the, their day one coverage into my actual list, because there was a lot at the Directive where it was like, okay, here's this, this, and this, and then they didn't show anything, but you watched an extra 20 or 30 minutes, and there were 3 other games that they showed off. So I was like, okay, well, I have to watch a little bit further into this before I officially make my list. So I stopped at Fire Emblem Warriors. They were doing the Mario Luigi Superstar Saga last time I looked at it, and they went through a little bit of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as well. But getting right into it, my number 5 is actually the Yoshi game. It's coming out 2018, and that's pretty much it. It looked pretty good. There's at least 2-player co-op. I would be really interested if they pulled off 4-player co-op, but even if it's just 2 players, it looks really good. They had the Yoshi Woolly World before, and that's one of the things I really love about that is they seem to be doing unique stuff. It's not just here's a Yoshi game that looks like the 3D Mario games. It's this is a Wool game, and now this one is almost like Paper Mario, but not really. It's more like cardboard Yoshi. And I thought that was really cool, the aesthetic of it, the way they end it, where he basically hits a house or a hotel, and it falls down and it reveals, what was on the inside. And they also have parts where you can jump on these little, clickers, and then it flips the entire level around, does a 180, and you see a completely different side of what you were just exploring. And I thought that was a great idea. Like I said, they had 2-player co-op. They had stuff where the red Yoshi was pushing this machine, the green Yoshi was standing on top so he could collect the coins as it went across. And I thought that looked cool. That's just little co-op stuff, but it was really this brand new aesthetic that they had for the game. That's what excited me most. So I was like, all right, I might not even pick this game up, but it looked really good. It kind of reminded me of I forgot what it was called. I think it was called Paper Mario All-Star or something. The one that they came out for the Wii was one of the first really great games on the Wii. And I love that game. It was it's 2D, and then you could turn and it would actually go 3D. That's what this reminded me of, but it's just more of a, it's 3D anyway. It's just a 180 thing to see totally different elements of the level. But it took me straight back to that Paper Mario game. They probably did that in the most recent Paper Mario game as well, but I haven't played that one, so I have to go way back to the original Wii. But that looked really great, so I'm excited to see more of that and how far things go as far as co-op and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that, but it just looked really good. Moving on to my number 4, this is one of the things I mentioned where I'm pretty sure the Directive was technically over, and this was just their day one coverage, but the Metroid Samus Returns game, that looked great, and it was right after the Directive, or the Nintendo Direct, and it was hey, here's a brand new announcement that was not even in the Direct at all, and it was a brand new Metroid game. And I thought that was great. And this comes, after the Metroid 4 thing. And this we got to see some footage of, and it was really good. It was on the 3DS. It's actually Metroid Prime 2 remake, but it's kind of like the Resident Evil remake that was on GameCube and now is on everything. But it's technically the old game, but they have brand new mechanics in it. There are new weapons. Actually, I wrote some stuff down because I was actually counting as they were going through the menu. So there are 7 weapons total. There are 10 upgrades. They have a brand new counterattack. They have the counterattacks on bosses changes the perspective a little bit, so it gets really close up. And I feel that comes from, even though the game didn't do well, I feel that was kind of taken from Metroid Other M, which was a cool mechanic. And I feel they brought that in, so when you do cool counters on the boss enemies, it gives you a little bit of a cinematic as you're getting extra damage on them. And I just thought that was really cool. I was I like that idea. It's a very simple little thing, but there are new powers, new weapons. The design is great. It's still the 2D style, side-scrolling at least, but it's definitely a 3D game, so they can do those moments where it goes really in-depth. And of course, if you're watching it in 3D, all the stuff, they even reference this as they're playing. It's you look at the background, and of course it's just 2D as we're watching it, but if you're looking at that in 3D, there's so much depth to that. There's, the part where they're in lava, and it's, there's lava pouring in the background, and there's columns, and there's depth to every single, element of that you're seeing on screen. So it looked really great, and we see I think we saw 3 different segments of the game, or, throughout the game, 3 different locations, and all of them looked like they had some great depth to them. Of course, it's Metroid, so going through, they even start off where she doesn't have, even the morph ball and stuff like that, and we see her get the kind of, the classic suit that everybody knows her with. So it was just really good. I was I like this. They even show off a special edition, which I thought was pretty cool. It comes with the soundtrack. One of the other cool things that they showed off was, of course, amiibo support. So I would love to see how previous Samus amiibo may or may not interact with this game. But the ones they showed off looked absolutely phenomenal, especially the actual Samus one. It just looked like it was so shiny. I was like, man, I kind of want that. Like some amiibo I buy just for the art aesthetic, but I don't know, that might be one of them. That looked really great. And then the other one I kind of want too because they made it squishy. It's like a, squishy, an actual squishy Metroid. So I was like, I kind of want that just because you can actually, squish it. So that's some pretty cool amiibo. But all in all, the game itself, it looked really good. So we got that coming out. I'm pretty sure that's towards the end of the year. Yeah, no official release date. At least nothing that I wrote down or heard. But it looked really good, so I really enjoyed what we got to see from that. Nice little surprise there for people that own a 3DS. I currently don't, so I most likely won't end up getting this game anyway, but it definitely got me excited. I was like, this looks like a really good remake, adding new elements to an already classic game, putting it into that completely, complete 3D style. All of it, I was like, this is really good. So I'm excited to see what they do with that, even though odds are, unless I get a free 3DS, I'm not going to end up getting this game, no matter what, but it looked really good, even knowing that I probably won't ever own it. But moving on from my number 4 to my number 3, once again, it was the Mario plus Rabbids game. I thought it looked really good, and this was one of those things where during the actual Direct, it was just a trailer, and that was about it. We had some people from Ubisoft talk, and that was about it. But when they actually showed off the demo after the official Direct, it was really good. We got to see a full battle, which I thought was pretty cool, and they actually talk about how there are different types of battles, because the one that they showed, all you had to do was get one of your characters to like this gold area, and that was it, and you would pass the battle. You actually didn't have to defeat the enemies, but they went through and they show off the different styles and stuff like that. The Rabbid Peach was getting like completely destroyed during that demo. It was really funny to me. But they're going through and they show like the different levels, and they utilize the pipes and stuff like that, and jumping off the enemies, or jumping off of each other, not the enemies. But I thought it was really good. I really like what I got to see, and them talking about the fact that there were different types of battles where, the goal for this one is just to get from point A to point B. Others will most likely be you have to defeat these enemies. Odds are every boss battle will be that way. But I thought it was just really well done. And I'm excited to see that that's one thing they don't show off for boss battles. I would assume we're going to have those. And, maybe those enemies will just be tougher, but I would like to see how they, differ from the normal enemies, which just kind of walk around like you do. But looked really good. They talk about how when you defeat the rabbits, you're not actually killing them. Nintendo doesn't like to say that anybody dies, they're just defeated. And in this case, they aren't even defeated, they're actually saved. You save these enemies from the corruption of the actual main villain. Like the rabbits are being taken over, so every time you beat them, they basically get digitized and they get sent back to their realm safely. And I was like, that's really funny because that's Nintendo, no one dies, they just get defeated, or they get saved in this case. So I thought that was funny, but I thought it was really good. We get to see the hub world in the demo as well, which is basically Princess Peach's castle. They mentioned that it will actually change as you go throughout the game. There were like 2 or 3 different portions that were basically just like, this section's under construction, so there are going to be elements added to the castle as you go further throughout the game. So I thought that was pretty cool. They mentioned that there are 8 total characters. So we have Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, I believe I saw Toad in there, and then we have Rabbid, Peach, Rabbid, Luigi, and there's one more character that's missing. I don't know if we're going to get a Rabbid Mario. That would kind of make the most sense to have Rabbids of, like the 3 main people, but maybe we'll get something, like a special character. They have silhouettes in there. Honestly, one of them looked like Birdo, and I was like, I highly doubt that's going to be the 8th character, but who knows? That would be an interesting little shock there. But 8 characters total. They walk around Princess Peach's castle, so you see different stuff. They have like a washing machine, time machine, which is for you to replay battles after you beat them, so you can get better scores and stuff. There are other little locations that you can unlock as you get new abilities and things like that. They show the hub where you actually switch out your enemies and or switch out your characters and also upgrade your weapons and decide which stats you prefer. So I thought it looked really good, and like I said, it was mostly them introducing the fact that some of the battles have different parameters for success. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's not just you go into battle and you beat them and then that's it. Some battles, it's not about defeating, it's about getting from point A to point B. Maybe we'll see time trial battles where you have to defeat the enemies within a certain time, or maybe you have to get to the gold area within a certain time, and stuff like that. I'm sure will, easy to incorporate, just put time and then it makes it a whole new sort of battle. So I'm excited to see what else they add to it. But overall, you know, they showed off some really good stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I'm still very excited for this game. It comes out, I believe they said in August, which is really crazy having like this new announcement, even if it was technically leaked. But it looked really great, and so I'm still very excited for that. But moving on from 3 to 2, we have Fire Emblem Warriors. During the Direct, didn't care. I was like, oh, that's cool. They have, you know, Fire Emblem characters joining together. I knew it was different characters from different games, and they're now joining together. I didn't realize the Warriors subtitle meant like the Dynasty Warriors thing. I forgot that that's how they were doing stuff. And when I saw the demo, I was like, oh yeah, they're doing like a whole franchise of different games where like Hyrule Warriors is Dynasty Warriors, and now it's Fire Emblem Warriors in the same style. And so that changed my perspective, because the demo, or the trailer they had was just like, oh, it's just a new Fire Emblem game. And I thought you just play a new character who meets the other characters, because I really don't know if they live in the same universe. I really don't. So I was just like, oh, I figured it was like some sort of alternate sort of thing. And that's definitely the case, because it's, you know, it's Warriors, so it's just like a brand new story. They're all just thrown together, characters who technically have like the same weapons from different eras and stuff like that. So they're just thrown together, but it looked cool. I like Hyrule Warriors. I have played that game before, and this is kind of the same thing. You just have cool characters who utilize really cool powers. Corrin is in it. I love her in Smash Brothers, so I was that really had me the most excited, because she's one of my favorite characters in Smash Brothers now. So I was like, that kind of makes me want just to play as her in a new way. But it looked really good. The graphics were great. It's interesting to see this. You know, this is going to be on the Switch compared to Hyrule Warriors, which was on the Wii U, and that looks good, you know, in itself. So I can't wait to see how this is, you know, upgraded. Even though it's still going to be like 1080p, I would assume maybe we'll get to see like full-on 60 frames per second with this compared to Hyrule Warriors. But it looks really good. They have some cool aesthetics in there during the menus. They have it where you can actually switch between characters during battle, which I don't believe was in Hyrule Warriors, unless I just never figured that out. But you can switch between the characters that you pick. You can command the characters from the menu. In the menu, they have different art styles. So they have like the current art styles, where it's like the 2D stills, which look really, you know, high def and great. And then they also have little tiny sprites for your like ally characters, and they show their health. And then like old school 8-bit sprites. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like a really minor little thing that they put in there from like, you know, because the franchise is actually quite old. So I thought that was really great. But you know, it's very simple, but I thought it was a great little demo, and I'm actually excited to check that game out. And I've always enjoyed Dynasty Warriors. It's one of those things, it can get really repetitive, so I don't know if they can, you know, defeat that, because they didn't do it with Hyrule Warriors. I can tell you that there was one level that I like hated, because I felt like I was in like one level for like an hour, because I was just running around doing so much stuff. And I was like, if this level was like half the time, it would have been great. You just beat up some enemies, and then you move on to the next stage. But like, I'm sure that's just how those games are. Some levels are great because it's like you do the same thing pretty much every level and you fight a different boss. But sometimes the levels just last for like an hour apiece, and it's like, God, I just want to move to the next level, because it just feels like it's tedious technically all the time, but you don't really feel it until you're in the same level doing the same thing over and over. So I feel like hopefully they'll kind of reconcile that and make all the levels like, you know, I don't think every level will be the same, but as long as they're like shorter, like nothing, you know, half an hour or anything like that, I would love that. Like more levels that at a smaller pace or a smaller time, I think would be better than less levels at a grander time, because it just, after a while, you're just in the same location and you just feel like you're just running back and forth, and it gets kind of annoying. So hopefully they can fix that element, but that is almost like a staple of Dynasty Warriors, is that the levels are grand and you just spend a bunch of time on one mission. So we'll see how it plays out, but it did look really good, so I am still very excited for that. Of course, before I move on to my number one, I have a couple honorable mentions. The first one is actually the new Kirby game coming out. Of course, we had Yoshi. That caught my attention a bit more, so that's why Kirby didn't really make the list, but still look good. 4-player co-op. They seem to be bringing back elements from the last game, where he has like the giant mega moves, because he even has the same outfit with the cap and the sword. We just don't see him use it in like its giant form. At least not that I saw. I may have glanced away for a second, but we do see 4-player co-op. There's a part where like all 4 players are like in a wheel. They like can join together. So I would assume that's like a special attack you can only do with 4 characters, because they form like the 4 corners of the wheel. So I thought that was a definitely a cool element to it, with them bringing back what I assume are going to be like those mega moves. I would love to see how that plays out with the multiple characters. I don't know how many characters were playable in the previous game. I believe that one was only 2 players. I never actually played it, but this one, you know, 4-player co-op. So I'm excited for that. I think that'll be pretty cool, and we get to see the characters run around, do their own thing. So I'm definitely excited to see, some more information on that game and how it's, truly utilized. To see the tree come back, classic. Weird enemy to have as a classic enemy. Like, that's one of the most well-known enemies in the game, and it's like, it's weird. That's a tree. It drops apples on you, and it blows the apples toward you to hurt you. And it's like, it's weird, but that's technically a classic enemy in gaming. So that's one of my honorable mentions. The other, of course, Metroid Prime 4. The only mark that I put on it is finally, because finally Metroid is coming back. That was like the first announcement, and then we got the second with the 3DS game. So they're doubling down with the 3DS coming out first. I would assume with this being like such a minute teaser, it was literally just the symbol came up. I was like, finally, they're doing something. And then it was just like, it says Metroid Prime 4, and that's it. No date, no nothing, not even like clip footage, still nothing. So I would assume this isn't going to come out to like 2019. We'll probably see some more stuff at like Tokyo Game Show, because I always forget exactly when that is, but it's like really early in the year. So it's like, like the first real big gaming event of the year technically. So maybe we'll see some stuff there. I think that's just a logical thing. If they happen to have more, at this point, it really is just a still. It's not even an image of how Samus is going to look herself. It was just the title. So we might not even see anything until next E3, but it's there. And I felt like with this being one of their staple franchises, it's great to finally have a new Metroid game coming out. The last one we had, no one even remembers, because it was the Federation Force. It was like a soccer game. Nobody cared about that. I feel like that game never even came out, because I don't even remember seeing reviews for how bad the game was. It exists, I'm pretty sure, but I don't think I've ever seen a video of anyone actually playing it. And before that was Metroid Other M, so I'm glad we're getting another Metroid Prime game, even if I don't end up playing. The same with the 3DS. Never really played the Metroid games at all, but I'm just glad it's one of the staple franchises, and even just, I guess it's just as a super nerd, I just want them to bring back the Metroid game. So I thought that was really great. And of course there's some other stuff there, but they didn't really pique my interest at all. Xenoblade, I don't really care about. There's something else on here. Oh, the Legend of Zelda DLC. I don't have I don't have a Switch, so there's that, and I didn't want to buy it for the Wii U. But I just didn't really care, because I don't have the game just yet, and it didn't seem like it was that epic DLC anyway. It was like, here's some new armor and stuff, so it was like, even if I own the game, it wouldn't be that big of a deal to me. It would just be like, cool, more stuff. But, it didn't seem like it was even worth an honorable mention to me, because it wasn't that much to it. But going to my number one, probably an obvious one, it's Mario Odyssey. Looked great. Everyone, I think, was waiting to see some more footage on this, and we got some great stuff. I saw 2 demos of it. One was from Nintendo, and the other, IGN has a thing. It's probably like its own little clip at this point, but they had a demo as well. So I saw some really good stuff there, but the Nintendo one was really great. They showed off a lot of good stuff. We get to see, I think it's called like New Donk City is the name of it. We get to see them run around there. The trailer itself was really great, because it's like, okay, it starts off with this T-Rex, and then poof, it has the hat on. I didn't even notice, but the dinosaur also had the mustache on. I didn't realize that till the end of the demo, when they or the end of the trailer, when they go through the enemies again. But Mario can throw his cap on enemies and jump into them. You can jump into giant Goombas. There are smaller Goombas that you can't jump into, but you can jump into big Goombas, stack them on top of each other, bullet bills, T-Rex, which I really can't wait, because that wasn't in the demo. I cannot wait to see how you utilize the T-Rex to get to more stuff within the game. Like whatever level that's going to be, which I assume might be the jungle level. I feel like the jungle might transfer into something else, but I thought that was great. But there are so many different enemies. He turns into fire at one point. You can possess. It was kind of weird when he threw the hat on someone else and turned into him. I was like, for some reason that felt weird to me, because it was almost like he actually possessed a human. But when it was like the other enemies, it was like they're just random creatures anyway, so it didn't seem as weird. But he like threw it. It's like Mario as a person turned into another person. I was like, for some reason that was weird to me, but it was weird. He turns into the car, which I thought was really funny. I'm assuming you can just drive around as the car. Turned into like traffic cones, so you can like fling yourself onto stuff. You can turn into electricity. You get onto a power line and you can like shoot straight up buildings and get around corners and stuff. It looked really good. Turned into a rocket ship during the demo and went to like another section. So much stuff in there that you can turn into, and it was just really cool. And then that's just one mechanic of it, and everything else was really good around it as well. You of course have the platforming. Mario can even jump on top of his hat if you do that move. The hat can be like your thrown weapon, like a boomerang, so you can throw it forward. You can throw it almost like a blade where it's vertical. You can throw it horizontal like that. There's like a spin attack where it can spin around a couple of times. That looked really cool. It just looked really good. And then there are different elements to the levels as well, where you're basically gathering moons, they say, and that's how you build up the Odyssey, which is like the big top hat looking ship, and that's how you get from level to level. And you can buy items to decorate the inside of the ship, and I thought that was really cool. So you pick up costumes, you pick up items. The costumes can help you get to certain areas, because if you're dressed as normal Mario, they'll say you're not allowed. But during the demo, when he was in like the Mexican village, he went to a store, he bought like the sombrero, and he bought the I can't think of the actual name of it, but he bought the whole outfit, and he's allowed to go in. Then he does like a cool little, it's actually in the demo where he's playing the guitar, and I was like, that's cool. That's the only way you can get in there, and you play a song, and then you actually get another moon. And I thought that was great. I was like, that's really cool. You can take over, like the tiki statues that they had were really cool, and you lift the glasses up, but when you put them down, you can see secret pathways and stuff. All of that looked great. And then they even had the 2D portion, which I saw twice, because in the demo for IGN, they didn't buy the Mexican village costume. They bought like the sort of adventurer costume, where he has like, you know, I can't say the Indiana Jones outfit, but he has like, you know, an explorer's outfit. And they do that in 2D. Both costumes look great when it goes into 2D. So I'm excited to see how many times that shows up in the game, because that was two portions fairly close to each other. Like we go through the pipe and it's 2D, and then you go up a little, and then we're on like the spiral thing, and it goes back into 2D, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. It was like, you know, I was like one after the other. So I would love to see how much we actually get to see that utilized throughout, you know, the whole game. How often, you know, what's the percentage of like 3D portions to 2D portions? Because I feel like they could do it quite a few times, and it would never get old. It would just be like, look at me in this cool, you know, different costume, and you know, here I am in 2D now. So it looked really great. Everything went like full old school. The pipe is different. The bullet bills, they kind of look like the ones from Super Mario Brothers 3 to me, so I thought that was really cool. I think that's actually when they first show up, so of course it would. But it was all good. Like it just all looked really great. They, of course, they have more amiibos coming out. So we have Mario in his suit, Princess Peach in her dress, and then Bowser in his outfit as well. And they all looked really good. The Princess Peach one looked really great. Like they didn't do like a really big close-up, but I could see a bit of the detail in that, and I thought that was just really cool. So I'm curious to see how detailed they got with it, like with up close stuff. And also, I'm pretty sure it's all plastic, but it would be crazy if they did like actual cloth for that amiibo, because they do, you know, like with the Metroid one, squishy amiibo, and like the Yoshi Woolly World had a Yoshi amiibo and stuff like that. So they definitely do those things for sure. But I would love to see if they have like an actual cloth dress on her, or if it's just like all hard plastic. It makes more sense to do plastic, because that's just way faster and cheaper. But that would just be really cool. It looks great either way, but that was just something I thought was worth mentioning, because of course amiibo are coming out. But that's my number one. Try to make sure I got everything on there. So it had spin attack, 2D spots, October 27th as the official release date, so that's great. We have an actual release. It's not just holiday, it's October. But it looked really good. So, oh, each location has its own currency. I thought that was actually very good too. I thought that was pretty unique, and that's how you get, you know, costumes in specific areas. Like you can get a bunch of purple coins here, but that doesn't mean you can, you know, finally have enough to get the costume in this other level. It's like, nope, you have to find a way to get those coins in that area to get that specific costume, to get that final moon. So I actually like that idea. It kind of makes you work a little bit harder. You can't just go here where it's easy to get the coins and then jump back. It's like, nope, you have to find a way to pass that, you know, that hard spot to get some help. So I actually thought that was cool. But those are my top moments from Nintendo's Direct. Sorry about that. I didn't realize the timer. I was trying to time it. I couldn't see my timer because my outfit is like way too bright, so I can't see where my numbers are. So sorry that that cut off. But I was right at the end. I was just going to say, of course, I want to know what you guys thought about the conference or the Nintendo Direct. The information that we got, the new announcements, of course, with both new Metroid games, of course, one being Metroid Prime on consoles. Very excited to see, you know, probably like a year and a half when we get some actual footage of what that's going to be like on the Switch. Very excited for that, you know, with the way they have the Joy-Cons and everything. I just can't wait to see what they really do with that, and I feel like there's going to be some great stuff to see once that game finally has some real footage to show off. But of course, like I said, I want to know how you guys would, you know, rearrange my list from your top 5 moments. Some stuff I didn't even care about, like Xenoblade and DLC. But that's just me personally. Would love to know how you guys felt about the Direct and some of the footage we showed off. Some stuff I'm sure they're going to be showing off like the rest of the day. Like they didn't even talk about Pokemon early on because, you know, they had like their little thing a few days ago or like weeks ago. And it's like, yeah, that's what they do now. They have like their little events where it's like, yep, check this out. Here's a bunch of footage for ARMS, Splatoon, check it out, new Pokemon. They don't need to save that stuff for E3 anymore. They just kind of do it when they want to, and then it's great. So, you know, we'd love to know what you guys would have preferred to have seen more of during the Direct, and especially with that being like, you know, this is where they're first now, you know, talking about some of these things. We'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.